All right, we are recording for chapter 14 of Star Trek, the motion picture novelization. It is really just a Spock chapter, which is fine, nothing really wrong with that. But it has some interesting points to it. One thing, also I will admit, only occurred to me as I was getting to the end of it, it's like, I should have thought of that earlier. A certain aspect of Spock that makes sense. I'll get to it. I want to start with this, though. Just the whole he's gone down to engineering's worked with Spock. Worked with Scotty. Who Scotty's kind of annoyed with him because Spock is still trying to be so cold and all that, and not like shaking hands when offered and all that. But yeah, it should be possible to proceed without me now, said Spock to the chief engineer. This is literally how the chapter starts. Hi, we can manage from here. His Highland's burr showed a twist of annoyance, but we'll miss the sound of your sweet laughter. Yeah. I mean, Scotty does know him and does respect him, but it still is. Oof. Because Spock is being a bit more extreme with it. So after that, it also describes. So it took them about 2 hours. 1 hour was apparently Spock just like looking at the computers, taking in all the data. Then he shuts them off and then just disconnects from the world, you could say, as he just thinks on it. And then he provides the formula, which they then have to run a computer simulation on, and it comes back that, yeah, he's a hair off from perfection. Which, yeah, that's Spock. But it is, reading that, it very much solidified in my mind that Spock does exist as a wizard type character, like Merlin and such, with Kirk being King Arthur. Although this is not exactly a round table, but that Spock is the one that can just provide the knowledge, can provide the power that Kirk may lack, and just he is a fantastical character. Which isn't a bad thing. I mean, recognizing that is kind of the archetype he fills. Not perfectly. I mean, Spock is his own character. He's not just an archetype. But it's still interesting to notice that there. But afterwards, he leaves and intends to go to an extreme forward area of the engineering hall, which it describes that apparently how to put it, architect psychologist are designed into comfortable and private alcoves, each with an individual view of the stars. So apparently just wasted space. So it's like, all right, let's put up barriers, put on doors and all that so they can be used. And he's going there because he wants to meditate, and another purpose I'll get to. This was in some ways the most pleasant area of the starship, being as it was a casual design afterthought, without the purposeful efficiency of the rest of the vessel. This isn't an afterthought, though. I mean, for one thing, for Spock to know about it, it had to have been there in the original design. But if it didn't serve a purpose, it wouldn't be there. I'm sorry, but that there's a certain reality there. You're building something completely brand new. If it doesn't have a purpose, it won't be there. I mean, give an example, although this isn't on many modern cars, but some older cars, you may, if you look around at the bumpers, you might notice a cut, an opening in some of them. There's a reason for that. You might not know what it is. You might think, that looks like a defect. No, that's completely intentional, because cars used to come with jacks, their own jacks, and they would have a hook on them. So not just something where you put it wherever and then again lift. No, the hook would actually go into that slot because it connects properly to the frame there, and then you can jack it up that way. Because that legitimately is one thing there's a danger with cars. Because if you don't jack them up properly, you risk it collapsing on you. Instead, if they come with a jack, I don't know if many cars today do, but at least in the manual, it will tell you where to put it. Because it might be that, the best place to put it, like to get to this wheel to change out a tire, or that was it, to do some other work, you want to put it in here so that you're under the frame, as opposed to, say, under just the body. So, like, I could believe that there are plenty of people that are injured because they put it thinking that, oh yeah, I'm putting it under the door here, so that's really strong. It's like, no, 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 no. You want it under the frame because the body portion that has the door there isn't necessarily designed for holding that much weight. So you may jack it up, get under it, and then it collapses because wasn't ready. Anyway, yeah, it was popular as a place for the many pleasures which a crew member might find in solitude or in new friendships. So I admonished myself a little bit because the thought did come into my mind because of how 70s this story has been thus far. That's like, especially with the new friendships, are they talking about people going there to have sex? It's like, no, that's not, I'm reading into that. That's not necessarily what's going on. As he entered, Spock's ears caught the sound of humans at love. I didn't want to predict it, but it's just, and literally that is the next sentence. So, which told him that privacy was still respected in this area of the ship. He moved quickly on, wishing his hearing was not so acute at times like this. It was the beginning of coupling he had heard, and it distracted him. It's like, which I also have other issues going on here besides that. I mean, it's like Spock's reaction. I mean, he moved quickly on. It's like, if he's really so logical, you'd think he'd just ignore it. That he wouldn't. You would move quickly on in a situation like that out of embarrassment, right? Why would he be embarrassed? He's a Vulcan, right? Yes, he has his emotions, but it's still, he should be able to just focus down and be like, doesn't matter. Just close that off. No need for him to be embarrassed. They're doing whatever, and he has no intention of interrupting them, and they might not even be aware he's there. So it's like, no need for embarrassment, just focus on, because he's Vulcan. Crap, there's another thought that, oh yeah, also there might be that element of it does happen kind of thing, where it's like, just, whatever, moving on. Like, it doesn't need to disturb him just moving quickly on. Okay, it doesn't need to disturb him, as in it's not interfering with him. Him moving quickly on does kind of indicate he is a little disturbed, the embarrassment, but still it's like, come on, you're Vulcan, grow up, don't be like that. If he were a human, okay, he's only half human, and he just tried to finish Kolinar, come on. Anyway, out of this human need to continually rub this and that part of their bodies to... Hang on, went to sleep. Damn it. Out of this human need to continually rub this and that part of their bodies together, particularly since humans conducted it while fully rational, sometimes even intermixing it with conversation, which was certainly far from any definition of passion by Vulcan standards. I mean, hang on, need to put the highlight back. Yeah, little bug with I don't know how many Kobos. It might just be the Libre color, but if a highlight is highlighted like that and it goes to sleep, it deletes the highlight. Should not do that. I should maybe see if I can report that. Anyway, oh, it didn't even capture it all. So, I'm not necessarily, which is certainly far from any definition of passion by Vulcan standards. I'm not sure that's how I'd put it, but there is a certain element of, to a Vulcan that would not make sense. The idea of having a conversation at that time. Because to a Vulcan, sex would only serve one of two purposes. One is to satisfy Pon farr, at which point, I mean, in Amok time, the point is even made that Spock is borderline unconscious, right? That he is acting so strongly just on instinct, just on that Vulcan nature, that he's not responsive. It's not like you can talk to him, not like you can reason him. He's practically unconscious, just on instinct. So to take that as the passion, then it's like, obviously, he's incapable of conversation. So, yeah. The other, because I've said it, I think, in the previous part, say it again now, and I'm sure I'll say it many times in the future, the idea that Vulcans would only find it logical to have sex during Pon farr doesn't make sense. I think if they found it logical to try other times, such as just to have children, that then they can do that at any point. It's not necessary to be just once every 7 years. But it would still be well, now I'm doing it for this very logical purpose that conversation does not assist with. So it's either way, it makes sense that he would be like, I don't know why humans do this. It's like, yeah. But the idea that, it's like, this isn't what Vulcans consider, that doesn't sound like, something that makes sense for Vulcan passion. It's like, what is Vulcan passion? Please. You guys try to push that away, push that down, so. That also reminds me of something that I meant to say it in a video or two ago. I think I started to talk about it and then I forgot. Because Vulcans and Romulans are supposed to be the same species that split off some time prior. But it would seem reasonable that was after Sirach. Because you wouldn't think that they would have had the ability to leave planet Vulcan to reach Romulus prior to that. Which then makes it interesting to consider, okay, how come if they have the same species, so they should have the same problem with emotions, how do they handle that? And why is it that the Romulans don't seem to have the obsession with logic that Vulcans do? Why do they not have a logic religion? I think it actually makes some sense as far as just the Vulcans, that their logic of religion is to basically completely suppress their emotions, whereas Romulans are probably more so not about suppressing, but controlling and channeling it. So they formed the Romulan Star Empire. They channeled it into their conquest. Now, I should also say before continuing with this, because it does seem like after, well, into TNG is when you definitely get more exploration of the Romulan culture, and more so making it like ancient Rome, or trying to bring things in from that. Balance of Terror, and even the Enterprise incident, I would say they're not as fully realized as a culture yet. But just an aspect of the whole them channeling into their conquest still kind of makes some sense, because they would Romulans are racist, essentially, much as ancient Romans were, but it wasn't racist in that, in like the modern day concept of this race good, this way bad. No, it would have just been Romulans are superior to everyone. That's how Romans felt as well, as my understanding. They just believed we're superior to everyone. They also didn't really care if other people like didn't worship their gods, because like, ours are better than yours, go away. Or we'll conquer you and then you have to worship our gods anyway, things like that. So the Romulans, yeah, it would make sense, and they're channeling their emotions into that would make sense, because they would need to validate to themselves their own superiority, because that would be a way to get around their emotions potentially being a weakness. Vulcans do see it as a weakness. I think it's reasonable that the Romulans would have as well, but they do channel it, and that channeling gives them the temperance over it that they need. I don't know. I mean, I'm just guessing. It does make some sense. And Klingons, okay, Cardassians also seem to be that same kind of racist, just like what is seen, because you do see some of that same behavior in Deep Space Nine. But it is still we're superior. It's not necessarily a cleanse the universe kind of thing, like you see with the Founders in Deep Space Nine as well, with the Dominion. The Klingons, however, I would say are not racist. Not in that same way. At least not in Deep Space TNG and Deep Space Nine. In that, because the reason why I say it doesn't seem like they are that racist is because they seem, their interest isn't in the species. If it's a species that's competent at warfare, then they will have a respect for it, and that's kind of it. Their judgment is based on that, not based on the species itself. So it's like Kirk, they would greatly respect because he is such a competent warrior, whereas, well, let's just go with Bones, because it's not like McCoy has ever been displayed as a truly competent warrior. They wouldn't necessarily have as much respect for him. It comes down like that. It's not about human. It's just about, okay, what are you actually good at? Plus the fact that the Federation had previously beaten them, they would have respect there. Even though they may still feel that the Klingon Empire would be superior to the Federation, it still is. They would have respect for it. But it would also be amusing them. It would have been interesting to see more of a war between Klingon and Romulans, more of that competition there. But anyway, I mean, neither of them are the stars of any of the shows. It's humans, it's the Federation. So anyway, moving on, because I know I'm just rambling. Okay, so it talks a little bit more about how Spock had tried to go through Kolinahr and had failed, not just in as far as not reaching it, but he had hoped that he still would have been able to push away his feelings for the Enterprise, for the crew. But he has to admit in this, on arriving here, the mere sight of the Enterprise had increased his heart rhythms noticeably. The other physiological changes which beset him on entering the bridge were so shocking that they made him scorn himself. So he's very happy to be back. He is excited to be back, but he can't acknowledge that, and he's in fact angry with himself over it even. And I do also want to mention, this is after, so he's gone into one of these alcoves so he can look out into space and feel a connection with the universe, and how does it put it? And to know that he was not only a small part of that universe, but the all of it too, all capitalized. His seventh sense had long ago assured him of this, just as doing again now, and that the seventh sense gets a footnote explaining it. And also explains what the sixth sense is for Vulcans, which is just they can sense magnetic fields. Yeah, and it even points out that there's species on Earth that can do that. Technically, humans can as well, is my understanding, but it's very weak, so we're not fully cognizant of that sense. We're not fully able to take advantage of it. But apparently the Vulcans can. Although now that I think about it, it actually doesn't make sense. Well, it's just their blood is copper-based, which isn't necessarily going to interact as well with a magnetic field as the iron in our body and blood just naturally there. Anyway. But still is this idea of this Vulcan concept of being both part of all and being the all itself. It's like you are part of the universe and you yourself are the universe. Is a Vulcan concept here. That's what the seventh sense is. This is the footnote. To Vulcans, the sense of oneness with the all, i.e. the universe, the creative force, or what some humans might call God. Vulcans do not, however, see this as a belief, either religious or philosophical. They treat it as a simple fact that they exist, that they insist, not exist. They insist is no more unusual or difficult to understand than the ability to hear or see. Then it explains what the sixth sense is. And it's like, I think I would be that jerk that would be saying to the Vulcans, or that asshole that would say to the Vulcans, no, that's a religious belief that you just, as a species, you hold because you have a species-wide religion. It's like, and it'd be like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I'm religious enough. I have my own kind of sense of that as well. But because we are on Earth, we have so many religions, it's like I can recognize that not everyone is going to feel that or interpret it the same way if they do still have that sense, still have that feeling. So it's like, Vulcans, guess what? That's a completely religious thing. It's actually really common. We have it as well. But you guys have, a mono-religion, it seems. So, yeah, it is just kind of funny that it's like, no, it is religious people. Come on. It would also be interesting to, if Roddenberry was still alive. Well, actually, no, I wonder if I could look it up and find if anyone ever debated with him about, because to me, no. Vulcan logic is a religion. It full on is. It has the laws, it has the rituals, everything that would make it a religion it has. So, but I see some people that would try to argue that, no, the Vulcans can't have religion because they're ultimately rational, and religion is not rational. It's like, dude, you do not understand religion if you think that it is purely irrational. And that there are many aspects of religion that are very rational, Just start with the thing that they would try to attack. Somebody who says that it's not rational, it's like, well, to a religious person, they do believe in a higher being of one form or another. Catholic, so Christian, God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, all that. The whole Trinity there. And that we then try to order our lives by that. Because we have that belief, it is completely rational what we then do. And then it's also certain things in there that, again, it is actually very rational if you actually can just respect the fact that people do believe it. But there's also rationale as far as the community aspect to it as well. That religion is a way to connect people that are otherwise disparate. It's like, in theory, my brother actually kind of had this opportunity. He could have gone to a Korean Catholic church when he was out traveling in a different state. It was not in English, so he would have had some trouble, but technically, he would have been completely welcome there. I have no idea what anyone is saying, but all the ritual would have been familiar. All of it would have been recognizable. So it's like, that there is, in fact, again, a rational benefit to it as well. So Vulcans, yes, it is a religion, and rationality does not exclude does not exclude religion. I don't know if I will ever be a very good person to explain that, but it is true. It's also one thing, and I wish I knew a good book that makes the argument successfully. But the idea of science in place of rationality versus religion is actually a very modern concept. For many, many centuries, even millennia, they were together, very much together. And it's also like, for anyone who's like, oh no, that's not true. Christendom founded the first universities. Christendom did a lot of work on preserving ancient, non-Christian scientific texts. Right? It's like the Vatican has done a great deal, just focusing on Christianity, but there's other religions as well that predate Christianity that have also done this. But Christianity has done a great deal to protect science, preserve science, and to see it move forward. Okay? And it's also funny because there are certain other things, like today you would see some people that, just because I'm Catholic, might say that, oh, well, you must believe in Genesis then, and then you don't think the Big Bang Theory is true. It's like, the funny thing is, when the Big Bang Theory was actually first developed, it was ridiculed, and the scientific community attacked it, saying that it was the Vatican trying to take over science. Yes, because the physicist who came up with it was also a Catholic priest and monk. And what's funny is how he actually came up with it. He just was reflecting one day on Genesis and was like, you know what? God wouldn't need 6 days to make all of existence, to make the universe. He wouldn't need that long. It's God. He can just do it. If he wanted to come into existence, it would come in as a blinding flash of light. They started working out the formulas for it and came up with the Big Bang Theory. That for decades was dismissed because, like, oh, well, he's religious. We can't. Science versus religion? Come on. Who's the aggressor there? Crap, I'm trying to remember that there's another example like that as well, but it is just, yeah. Anyway, let's actually finish this off. We need to talk about that. So there's another reason why Spock is there meditating. It is not just to try to have that oneness with the universe thing. Which, sorry, a little bit of an aside here. I get the concept there, but I would reject it myself. To me, it is sufficient, the idea that we exist as part of the universe, an equal part of the universe. I think I was saying this before when Kirk was like finally back at the helm, well, back in the center seat and the ship going. That just I believe it is enough to be an equal part of existence. Not that you are a small part. No. You are an equal part of existence, just as everything else in existence is. Even a thousands of cubic light year nebula with all that magnificence of its form, you are an equal part of existence as that. Sure, it's far more massive and voluminous than you, but you are equal to it in the greatness and splendor of existence itself. So, that is why I would disagree with this whole the being one with the universe. Yeah, it kind of falls on, but the idea of the universe then being one with you, I'm not really putting that very well. But how it, and is it in the footnote? Sense of oneness with the all. Not quite it, but it. In one of the things earlier, okay. The Masters of Gaul, of course, spent much of their lives seeking to unravel the puzzle of how a living consciousness, Vulcan consciousness, could at every moment be both part and all. It's that and all part. That's the thing I would debate a Vulcan on. That I don't see that as being necessary to be that you are also all of the universe. It's like, why do you feel this is necessary? Like that would be part of my question is why do you feel that? The part of the universe, an equal part to it, which does connect you to the whole of the universe, yes, that I'm good with. But you also all of the universe. That's the thing yeah. It's just, I'm not criticizing that, I'm just curious about it. I'm puzzled by it. But anyway, so he's not only opening up his mind to re-achieve that feeling, it's also to connect with V'ger. Just highlighting the final paragraph of the chapter. I think I'll be able to hit only half an hour here, we hope. For a second time, he had sensed not only logic, but awesome knowledge. What was there that could still puzzle knowledge and logic of that greatness? What could all that be seeking almost desperately? Spock was certain that he had not erred in searching for his own answers here. His own answer here. Was it possible that the immensity could have some need which might be fulfilled by an insignificance called Spock? See, that would also be a thing that I would attack with Vulcans. Like, no, you are not insignificant. You are an equal part to the whole of the universe. So, which is, maybe that's actually kind of just the philosophical division for what's being described there, is that I do see it as equal part of the universe, and they're like small part, but also connected to the whole. And it's like, you're here and here, I'm more like, well, everything is, anyway. But what occurred to me as I was reading, not just that last paragraph, but things leading up to it, was that Spock and V'ger, in some ways, have a similar, or the same even, issue for them, in that they both desire, one way or another, well, how did I put in my notes? Okay. Yeah, how I wrote in here. Both are very logical creatures. Feature, yeah, sure, we'll say it's a creature for now. That fail to quite understand humanity and desire a solution to that. So for V'ger, its desire is to join with its creator, humanity, and that through that fusion, through that unity, going back to Decker, through that to finally progress forward, to move on. Okay. Whereas Spock, he doesn't quite understand humanity, including the humanity within him, and so he sought to cut it off. Now he's going to, he has already failed at that, and will eventually have to rejoin the crew and embrace his humanity as at least being part of him, that he cannot just be rid of, that is part of him. So it is, but when I realized that, it's like, okay, this now makes a bit more sense, some of Spock's motivations moving forward, but also, because it is more personal to him, that with this concept, with the similarity between them, like they're both seeking an answer to a similar problem, though their answers go in different directions. Crap, that was enough of an aside. I started to lose my train of thought. It also may help explain why the motion picture is similar to the Changeling in the original series, where that had the probe Nomad that similarly went out, was damaged, fused or repaired with another thing that gave it great power. It now felt a need to collect knowledge. It felt itself perfect and sought its original creator. Nomad also had a thing about just cleansing the universe, which, not good. That's a problem. V'ger doesn't seem interested in that. It's just collecting all knowledge into itself, seeking to return to its creator, to merge with it, and then turn over all the information. But it's... yes, there are those elements there that make it very similar to Nomad, but it's also... I could see being a... It's about... The stories... This aspect of the story is very much about Spock, in that we have the parallels between them and how they must go forward and see what the difference is. That, in a way, they both achieve unity with humanity. V'ger desires it and finds it through unity with Decker specifically, so merging consciousness there, whereas Spock essentially needs to unify himself, both his Vulcan and human portions together, which... I don't remember if that is much in the movie. I don't know. Maybe it's in the book. Maybe I'm just, seeing something that isn't there or isn't significant. Don't know. We'll find out. It will actually be very interesting to see Spock's development through the books, because generally I would say that Spock's fully matured, fully developed personality only comes about after the search for Spock, especially after the voyage home, where that is when after he is restored to his body and all that is when he fully seems to get to the... In Star Trek 6, logic is only the beginning, not the end. That he has finally achieved that full wisdom there. It seems that is a post search for Spock. Not prior. So it will be interesting to see how he develops across the stories here. And hey, maybe my theory here is correct. That we are going to see Spock recognizing that he, just like V'ger needs that unity, he also needs it. And that unity is by being with the Enterprise family. That they are human, and he isn't quite that, but this is still his family. That he must be with his brother, Kirk. Alright, that is enough of my blathering. I did cross 30 minutes. Sorry. Yeah, so stop this and I'll see you next time.